Hello, future champions. This is Chadwick Townsend,
And this is Dion Ferrier.
and welcome to the first ever Hex Weekly.
Alright, so first of all, for any of you who might have stumbled upon this page and don't have really any idea what Hex is, it's basically a TCG MMO, which basically allows us to play card games online. And that's going to bring in a lot of cool features for us. Not have to worry about cheaters, not have to worry about keeping track of things, keeping your dice, or even holding onto your cards. And I think it's going to be a really great system.
Some of the really interesting features about the game is you'll no longer have to actually physically keep the cards laying around your house, your chance of losing them. The greatest part is you will have a community that's always online, and you'll always be able to find somebody to compete against, instead of having to drive down to your local card shop or over to a friend's house.
Exactly. So instead of having to wait until that Friday night magic or whatever it is that you play now, basically get off work or school, whatever it may be, and then log on and start playing.
And you can even compete in tournaments. There's going to be, from what I've heard, daily tournaments, weekly tournaments, and draft whenever you feel like you want to draft. It could be 2 in the morning. You could be drafting.
Exactly. We'll get more into the play types once we get further into the show. So first of all, we'll just start off by talking about the Kickstarter. Hex just recently completed its Kickstarter, and it had an initial goal of $300,000, which it completely blew out of the water within the first couple days.
Oh, it didn't take long. There's a little over 17,000 backers when it was completed, and they're still sort of offering they call it the Slacker backer.
Basically, the Slacker backer is going to include a 1 starter deck, 25 booster packs, and 2 months of the VIP service, and that's going to run $50. Oh, and also you'll get an alpha invite.
With the help of the Slacker backer, they were actually able to reach their final stretch goal, which was 2.5 million. This just opened up so many things for the community. They're actually talking about a real live HexCon, sort of like, what's the other events?
You got GamesCon,
PAX. There's going to be real live conventions with developer panels, games, and live events.
Plus, not to mention, the more money that this company makes, the better the game is going to be for us.
Oh, absolutely. Some of the other stretch goals they've reached include a novel that will be written by a premier fantasy writer. They will have a fully functioning app offering the same experience on the go, which is going to be great for people that have busy lives.
Alright, now I'd like to introduce you to a part of the show that we plan on doing every time. It's going to be Cards of the Week. Maybe we'll come up with a more clever name eventually, but essentially what it's going to be is I'm going to pick a card, Chad's going to pick a card, we're going to describe what we feel like it could be used in, combination with, counters for, etc. Just basically in-depth of every card, and what we ask of you, the listeners, is to give us ideas as well, things that you've thought of in combinations of certain cards, and let us know in the comments, and we will definitely talk about them either next show or comment back.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, guys, we're not Magic pros, we're not TCG pros, so I'm sure there's combos that you're gonna see that's like mind-blowing to us, and let's just work together and get some great decks out there.
And the first card I'd like to do is Ragefire. Alright, and Ragefire is going to be a Ruby card. It's got a threshold of 2 and a cost of 2 as well. It's a basic action, and its text reads, deal 2 damage to target champion or troop, and it also has a keyword, Escalation. Escalation states, as this action resolves, shuffle into your deck, then double the bold number in the text of each card with the same name as this action in your deck, hand, and graveyard. Now what this is going to do is it's going to be an excellent burn, and I think it's going to be best in a Sapphire and Ruby deck. The Sapphire for the draw aspect and the Ruby for the burn. And I've also pulled up another card that I personally feel like this is just going to work phenomenal with. Its name is Archmage Renlock. It's a Sapphire. It's got a 2 threshold and a 4 cost. Troop, Human Mage. It's a unique. When you play an action, draw a card. Second thing is when you pay one less to play actions to a minimum of one. What this is going to do is it's going to drop Rage Fire to a cost of 1. And not only that, every time you play Rage Fire, it's going to go back in your deck and then you draw a card because of Archmage. This, I think, is going to allow for really, really fast burns. So yeah, basically, if you play this card 3 times, the first time it deals 2, second 4, third 8, for a total of 14 damage with only 3 times being played. And after that is where it gets crazy, because then it's going to start dealing 16 damage, 32 damage. No matter what the opponent's running, they won't be able to escape from it. The main counters I can see from this are going to be Aggro Rush. Someone who just sends out a lot of creatures, does really fast damage, really, really quickly. That, and also I can see a mill deck kind of ruining this. If a mill deck can get you to discard those off the top of your deck, it's really going to be quite useless. Any thoughts you guys have on this? I'd like to hear.
I think one of the great things about this card is that it's going to show off some of the aspects that can only be done in a virtual TCG, which is the fact that the escalation actually is applied to each one of your cards in the deck. This is just something that could never be done in a physical TCG.
Alright, Chad, you want to tell us about the card you picked for this week?
Sure thing. The card I selected this week is Sabotage. It's a Sapphire card with a casting cost of 3. It has a threshold of 2 Sapphires. It is a basic action, which means that it can only be played on your turn. When you play this card, you actually create 4 Booby Trap cards, and then shuffle them into target opposing champion's deck. This is really interesting because this card actually creates more cards, but since it's a virtual TCG, these cards will actually exist. They'll be sleeved and put into your opponent's deck. The actual cards created from Sabotage, it's called Booby Trap. It has a cost of 0 because it's actually created by Sabotage. It's an artifact trap. It states, if this artifact would enter your hand or graveyard, void it instead, and it deals 5 damage to you. This sounds kind of weird, but you have to look at this from your opponent's aspect of the deck. So, when they draw this card, or it's placed in their graveyard, they're taking 5 damage. This card will synergize well with mill decks, since even if the cards are milled off the top of their deck, this card will be activated, having the potential to deal a lot of damage, even for a mill deck. Do you see any synergies with it?
And one of the big synergies I could see happening with this card, it doesn't exist yet that I'm aware of, but a way to copy a basic action, if you could put 2 of these or 3 of these at a time, it would get much more dangerous a lot faster. And I know we currently have one that copies troops, so I think it's just a matter of time until we get one that copies base actions.
Absolutely. If your opponent is forced to actually draw into these, that's not only devastating in the form of damage, but in the form of card draw. That's almost a wasted turn if they have no more cards left in their hand.
Forgot about that aspect. If they draw this, it's a waste of a draw step. I mean, they're not getting another draw because they got this. It's what they get.
We see this card being very dangerous with another card called Chronic Madness. We're not going to go into detail on Chronic Madness, but it's another basic action that ends up burying the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, and it also escalates, so we'll let you think about that one.
Alright, so that wraps up our show for today. It's our first episode, so anything that you did like or didn't like or would like to see on our next show, please leave in the comments. And also, we want to start doing a raffle. It's going to be 1 pack per week, every time an episode comes out, that is. And basically, to enter to win, all you have to do is like our Facebook page. We'll provide you a link, and then leave a comment. And in the comment, put the episode with the episode number and anything you like or did not like for episode 1, and you'll be entered for a chance to win.
Alright guys, well that wraps up our show. Thanks for listening, and it's been a great time.